Hello and welcome to the Bourbon and College Podcast. I'm your host, Austin. Let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to the Bourbon and College Podcast. I'm Austin. I'm enjoying bourbon without breaking the bank. Let's get started. So guys, today I'm talking about taking notes on your whiskey, on your sampling. So I've been doing a little, I guess you could call it a series on samples. I started with the basics of sending samples with people. Then I talked about kind of giveaways and how that can even move your sampling further out, where you can win giveaways, start giveaways to encourage people to try different whiskeys. So today I'm kind of taking that to a head and talking about, okay, you got your sample, and you want to remember the whiskey. How do you do that? The best way to do that is to take notes. Now, you see me give reviews on my YouTube channel. You hear me give reviews here on the podcast. But that all started because I wanted to have a record of the whiskeys and the bourbons I tried and have notes for them. And that's still partially why I do it, although now it's more of I enjoy doing this, and I hope you get some enjoyment out of it too. But I also write down notes. So I don't do it while I'm reviewing on the show, but I review the same whiskeys afterwards. If I get a sample, I make sure I have enough to try it again later and do it in my notebook. I used to do this all by hand in a regular notebook, and it was kind of messy. There's no rhyme or reason. But recently, in that giveaway I keep talking about that I won from Scotch on the Bayou, I got these little books called 33 Glass. I got two of them, 33 Glasses of Whiskey and 33 Drams of Scotch. Both of these are guided notebooks for trying whiskey. They're very similar. The Scotch has a few Scotch-specific things like peat, malt, flavor, that kind of deal. Whereas the Glasses of Whiskey has more general notes. But I want to talk about it. Not necessarily just this book, although this book is great, and I'll give a shout-out to them later. Just some things to keep in mind. Obviously, you want the name, the age of the whiskey, the distiller, the name, age, possibly the price if you can get a hold of it, your rating. So I would definitely give it either you do it out of 10, out of 100, or out of 5. These books give 5-star, just for example. That's how I've been doing. Obviously, I also have my keep, replace, or cocktail rating, so that works as well. Things you might not think about to keep track of, at least I didn't think about it before this book, was the date you sampled it. So if you have a bottle and you sample it on a certain date, come back, try it again, take more notes on it, and say the date. It could have aired out more, taste different. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, the color. I never really thought about color. I noted if something looked extra dark or extra light, but I didn't really mark down the color in general. Also, something that's really good to have that I didn't really understand till now is to have a reference point. So a while ago, I've talked about it. I've shared, I believe it's the Whiskey Smiths have a tasting guide with tasting notes. That's helpful. It's hard to pull out notes from something without something to compare it to. Now, whether that's you want to taste caramel notes, so you have a jar of caramel next to you. That's one way to do it. Or even just the word to make you think about, okay, do I taste caramel here? And you know what caramel tastes like. Do I taste that here? Do I taste vanilla here? Well, these books have a flavor wheel. It's more of an attribute wheel. So it has. I'll go ahead and read them for the whiskey. The Scotch will have the same things, but instead of woody, you would have peaty and salty. But there's dark fruit, and you do it on a scale from 1 to 5, and you can go in between. Citrus fruit, floral, spicy, herbal, malty, toffee, woody, tannic, char, sweet. Those are the flavors, and then you get into body, legs, balance, and linger, or finish. And they have one for heat and proof. So you put the proof there, and then you'd rate it on 1 to 5 of how hot it is. So, you might have a 120 proof whiskey, but it's so easy and smooth to drink, it doesn't feel like it. So you may not rate it a 5 because it's not that hot, even though it it has a high proof. But also something important is to write your own notes. Yes, it's good to have a flavor wheel, and that's good to use, but you also want to write your own notes. This flavor wheel is not going to have, oh, I get a banana note or a nutty note here, or this I shared this with a friend, that's why it's so important to me. Things like that. Just something to write. So that's also a good section to have. Just things to keep in mind that I'm giving you tips that I didn't really think about until I had this book, and so hopefully you don't make that mistake. It could be obvious already, I don't know. But that's just a few notes from me. Because like I said, I didn't have this to begin with. I kind of went off YouTube videos and different things like that. I wish I had this, especially for a beginner who doesn't know what to look for. Just having a list, okay, do I taste dark fruit here? Or how much of a dark fruit do I taste? Okay, what about citrus? Spicy, herbal. That's a great way to begin. There's one thing I haven't done yet, but I want to do is there's certain kits, and it's essential oils of different flavor notes that you commonly get in whiskey. And I believe it's geared more towards Scotch, but it would work for bourbon as well. And you actually get to smell that, and you can taste a whiskey and smell it. They say the best way to do it is to take something, say like a whiskey has tastes like peanut butter. You get that, smell the peanut butter, taste some whiskey, smell the peanut butter. It helps you teach yourself to associate different flavors, different notes, and it's a great way to learn. Like I said, it's all about a journey. These notes are for you. I share my notes like this verbally to everybody. I get them wrong all the time. I say there's no wrong answer, but I get them contradictory to what a lot of people get in different whiskeys. I'm not here to say I am the definitive, right. This is what I'm just saying what I get out of it. I encourage you to try it yourself, see what you get out of it. Share that, talk about it. The whiskey community is great about discussing differences without arguing, although that does come up sometimes. But overall, it's a great community to discuss your opinion without getting hammered for it. And it's rare nowadays. There's very few places where you can talk about your opinion on something and not get hammered for it or start a fight in the Facebook comments over it. But with that being said, that's all I got about note-taking. I said I'd shout out this company. So this is 33 Glasses of Whiskey. It is by a guy, I believe his name is Dave. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. But his company's called 33 Books. They have all sorts of things. I ordered some. They're on the way. Like I said, I have the 33 glasses of whiskey, 33 drams of scotch. They have 33 cups of coffee, chocolate, wine, beer. There's way more cheese. Just anything you can imagine that you can take tasting notes on, they have it. So check that out if you're interested. They're at a really reasonable price. And they're cool pocket-sized little books. I'm gonna post this one tomorrow, Wednesday. When you see this podcast, it should be on my Instagram, a picture of this with the sample and everything. But they're really great. He even adds a little bit of whiskey in the ink, which is really cool. And he actually talks about the whiskey on the back that he puts in the ink. But anyway, guys, that's the show today. I'm now going to review my fourth sample from the Baton Rouge Bourbon Society. This is Widow Jane 10-year Calandros Pick, which is one of my favorite whiskey stores or supermarkets that has a lot of whiskey. It is 55% alcohol, so 110 proof, so kind of hot, but not the hottest out of these samples. I've never had any Widow Jane, so I'm coming in blind to this. All the rest of them I've had at least a version of, I believe. This one I have not. Let's see. Great thing about samples is you can reuse the bottles. So as you give samples and you get samples, you shouldn't lose that many. Unless you give them away like me. So check out my giveaways. Hey, subscribe to me on YouTube. As soon as I hit 50 subscribers, I'm giving away Bourbon College Glencairn. And if you fill out the survey you'll see in the show notes, then you will be entered to win. 7 people will win a sample from my collection, and 1 person will also win a Glencairn on top of that. Alright guys, let's get to the nose here. Right off the bat, I would say this is a young whiskey. I get the same notes. I just reviewed on my YouTube channel on Monday, which in Peek Behind the Curtain, I'm recording this the day after I record that episode, so it's fresh in my mind. I was reviewing 1792, which is, a little bit younger of a bourbon. And it tastes smells a little young, a little banana on the nose, which is funny because this is a 10-year. Not in a bad way. It's not blatantly a young bourbon. It just smells younger than 10 years to me so far. It definitely doesn't smell as hot at 55%. The biggest note I'm getting right here is like banana nut bread on the nose. It's really intriguing me. Because when I said it smelled young, it's probably the banana note. But it doesn't have the harshness that you get from younger bourbons. It's definitely mellowed out like an older bourbon. I'm pretty sure this is a bourbon. Now I'm kind of questioning it. I'll have to do some research on that. Let's see. The color, I'm sorry, I just talked about how to take notes, and I'm ignoring my own notes. The color, I would say, is a light amber. They have a whole scale. Going back, I know I said I was done. But the color meter on here goes from the bottom is clear, straw, honey, gold, amber, caramel, and mahogany. So this is, I would say, an amber. Gold amber, maybe. Not the darkest, but definitely on the darker half. See what we get in the taste here. Oh man, where I said it was one simple note on the nose, that is way more complex than what I was thinking I was going to experience. I get that banana note right at the very beginning, and then it goes straight into a deep dark cherry, and it finishes on a nutty peanut butter. It kind of almost has the feeling of Pop Rocks on my tongue too, which is kind of interesting on first experience. The finish is not that long, but it's that deep peanut butter. A peanut butter cherry that I really enjoy. That's a really good finish. Holy crap. This surprised me on the taste here. After taking a sip, going back to the nose, get a little bit more of that cherry and a little bit more of peanut butter, but it's still banana. But like I said, a mild, mellow banana, not the sharp banana I get on young bourbons. That middle, so like I said, it's banana nut bread on the very beginning, and the long part is the middle. The middle is cherry, almost like a cherry candy, but very good, I gotta say, homemade cherry candy, finishing in peanut butter. Wow, that is nice. You always hear my favorite whiskey review channel being the Whiskey Tribe. I'm sorry, the Whiskey Vault. Yeah, the Daniel on there, he's a sommelier, and he was talking about this journey that you go on when you're trying a whiskey. I'm just like, oh, that sounds stupid. But it's true for this one. Like, it's like a roller coaster. You start off one place, go to another, and even a third place before you get to the finish. That's really good. I want to find this bottle. Or at least try maybe a regular Widow Jane 10, if that exists. See if it's anything compared to the store pick, but this is phenomenal. Man, my buddy David, he hasn't let me down at all in these samples. These are awesome. Ooh, that peanut butter note at the finish is so good. All right, guys, thanks for listening. I already said all my competition crap, so thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, this is the first episode I'll be posting on YouTube, on top of all the podcast networks. So thanks, guys. See y'all next time. Cheers.
If you want more Bourbon in College, follow us on Instagram at bourbon_in_college and like our Facebook page. Subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast player. Find all these links and more at bourbonincollege.com. Thanks, everyone.